My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because what you are about to hear was not meant to pass by you like an ordinary message. Something moved today. Something shifted quietly behind the veil. And while you were carrying your day, thinking life was still the same, your name was being spoken with a softness heaven did not ignore. Your soulmate could not stop talking about you today. Not once. Not casually. Not like someone mentioning a memory and moving on. No, their words kept returning to you like a river returning to the sea. They tried to speak about other things, tried to act normal, tried to keep their emotions hidden beneath ordinary conversation, but every path led back to you. Every sentence carried a trace of your presence. Every pause revealed what their lips were not brave enough to confess fully. And heaven listened. Because there are moments when a person's words become more than sound. They become evidence. They become a door opening. They become the first visible sign that something buried deep inside them has finally risen to the surface. Today, your soulmate said something about you that changed the atmosphere around them. They did not plan it. They did not rehearse it. It came out from a place deeper than pride, deeper than fear, deeper than the silence they have been hiding behind. Someone asked them a simple question, and suddenly, your name entered the room like light entering a closed place. At first, they tried to smile it away. They tried to keep their voice steady. They tried to make it sound small. But the moment they began speaking about you, something in them softened. Their eyes changed. Their energy shifted. The people around them noticed it, even if they did not say anything immediately. Because there is a different tone in a person's voice when they speak about someone they admire, and an even deeper tone when they speak about someone their soul cannot forget. They said you are not like others. And when they said it, they were not trying to flatter you. They were telling the truth as their heart understands it. They said there is something about your energy that stays with them, something that follows them into quiet moments, something that appears in their thoughts when they least expect it. They said your presence has a way of making even silence feel meaningful. But that was not the part that shook the room. No, the part that changed everything came after a pause. A small pause. The kind of pause where heaven leans closer. They lowered their voice and said that you made them realize something about themselves they had been avoiding for a long time. They said being connected to you has shown them where they were wounded, where they were afraid, where they were still unfinished. And even though that truth was not easy for them to admit, they did not speak with bitterness. They spoke with wonder. Because some people enter a life like a distraction, but you entered theirs like a mirror. You made them see what they wanted, what they lacked, what they feared, and what they secretly hoped could still be possible. Do not skip this moment, because the next part matters more than you think. Your soulmate did not only talk about your beauty, your kindness, your strength, or the way you carry yourself. They spoke about your effect. They spoke about what happens inside them after they have been near your energy. They confessed that after certain moments with you, they do not feel the same. Something stays open. Something stays awake. They said your name and then stopped. Not because they had nothing else to say. Because they had, and that silence was louder than the words. Someone near them noticed and asked, "So what is it about them?" And for a moment, your soulmate looked away. There was a battle happening inside them. One part wanted to protect the heart. One part wanted to speak freely. One part wanted to pretend this was nothing. But another part, the part heaven has been gently awakening, could no longer lie. They said, they understand things without needing everything explained. My beloved one, those words reached higher than the room they were spoken in. Because you have wondered if they saw you. You have wondered if your quiet care mattered. You have wondered if the way you held back, the way you stayed graceful, the way you gave space without becoming cold, the way you felt deeply without begging to be chosen, you wondered if any of it was noticed. It was. They noticed. They noticed how you sense what is beneath the surface. They noticed how you do not always need loud proof to understand quiet pain. They noticed the patience you tried to hide, the strength behind your softness, the dignity behind your silence. And then they said something even deeper. They said, "I don't think they know how much they affected me." That sentence was not small. That sentence was a confession wrapped in restraint. Because they have been affected by you in ways they have not fully known how to carry. They have compared other conversations to yours. They have compared other energies to yours. They have tried to distract themselves, but something about you keeps returning like a sacred echo. Today, while they spoke, a memory rose in them. A moment with you. Maybe it was something you said. Maybe it was the way you looked at them. Maybe it was a message, a silence, a goodbye, a small kindness, a moment where you did not even realize you were leaving a mark. But that memory came alive today. And when it did, they could no longer keep your importance hidden behind ordinary words. They said you have a rare heart. Not perfect. Not untouched by pain. Not someone who never struggles. But rare. Rare because you still believe in meaning after disappointment. Rare because you feel deeply in a world that teaches people to become numb. Rare because even when you are tired, something inside you still reaches toward light. And your soulmate knows this. They may not have always honored it correctly. They may not have always known what to do with it. But today, they spoke of it as something precious. Stay with this. Because heaven is not revealing this to entertain your emotions. Heaven is showing you movement. There was a time when your soulmate kept your name locked away. They would think about you privately but avoid speaking. They would feel something rising inside them but quickly bury it beneath logic. They would tell themselves it was not the right time, not the right situation, not the right moment. But today, the silence cracked. And once it cracked, the truth began to breathe. They said they have been thinking about how different things feel when you are involved. They said your presence brings a kind of seriousness to their heart, not heaviness, but depth. They said with you, things do not feel empty. They feel meaningful. And that frightens them a little, because meaning requires honesty. And honesty requires courage. This is where the unseen realm grew still, because your soulmate then admitted something they had not fully admitted before. They said they may have underestimated you. They may have misunderstood your quietness. They may have thought you would always be there, always waiting, always understanding. But now they see something. They see that your love is not weakness. They see that your patience is not permission to be ignored. They see that your silence is not emptiness. It is self-respect learning how to stand. And this realization has been moving through them like a soft thunder. They spoke about how you carry pain without making it everyone's burden. They spoke about how you keep going even when your heart feels tired. They spoke about how there is a strength in you that does not need to announce itself. But then came the sentence that made someone around them go quiet. They said, "I think they deserved better from me." There it is. That is the door heaven wanted you to hear opening. Not because guilt alone changes a person. Not because regret is enough. But because awareness is the beginning of transformation. A heart cannot repair what it refuses to recognize. And today, your soulmate recognized something. They recognized that you were not asking for too much. You were asking for truth. You were asking for consistency. You were asking for a connection that did not make you question your worth. And somewhere inside them, that truth landed. They talked about how you gave them a feeling they were not prepared for. They said it was not ordinary attraction. It was not just curiosity. It was not something they could easily explain to others. It felt familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. Safe and intense, peaceful and awakening. And because it was real, they did what many people do when something real arrives before they are ready. They stepped back. They overthought. They delayed. They hid behind circumstances. But heaven did not stop working. Even in the silence, lessons were forming. Even in the distance, understanding was growing. Even in the moments where you felt forgotten, something inside them was being confronted. Today was proof. Your soulmate could not stop talking about you because their heart has reached a point where silence no longer feels comfortable. They may still be cautious. They may still be afraid of saying too much too soon. But the truth is pressing against the walls they built. And when truth presses long enough, something must open. They told someone that you have changed the way they look at love. Not in a dramatic way. Meant for attention. In a quiet way that sounded almost like surrender. They said love used to feel like something they could control, predict, manage, or escape from. But with you, love feels like a mirror and a calling. It asks them to become better. It asks them to stop hiding. It asks them to show up with more honesty than they are used to giving. That is why your connection has felt so intense. Not because it is meant to destroy your peace, but because it is touching places in both of you that ordinary connections never reach. You have been wondering why the energy has felt strange lately. Why you suddenly think of them at unexpected moments. Why your heart becomes quiet, then heavy, then hopeful again. Why something in you feels like a message is coming before any message arrives. It is because movement begins in the unseen before it becomes visible. A door opens in the spirit before a hand knocks in the physical. A confession forms in the heart before it becomes words. And today, their words began forming. They said, "I don't know why, but I keep coming back to them in my mind." They said it almost like they were surprised at themselves. But heaven was not surprised. Because what is written deeply does not disappear easily. What is tied by purpose cannot be erased by distraction. What awakens the soul cannot be replaced by something shallow. Your soulmate has tried to move through the day like you are just one thought among many. But you are not. You have become a recurring place inside them. A place they return to when the noise fades. A place they measure other feelings against. A place that reminds them of something they want but are still learning how to receive. And today, when they spoke about you, the people around them heard more than words. They heard emotion. They heard hesitation. They heard a person standing at the edge of a truth they can no longer deny. One person even said something that stayed with them. They said, "You talk about them differently." And your soulmate did not answer quickly, because they knew it was true. They do talk about you differently. Their voice softens in places they try to keep guarded. Their thoughts become more careful. Their words carry more meaning. Even when they try to sound casual, the heart betrays them. The heart always reveals what the mouth tries to manage. Then your soulmate said something that heaven wants you to hear very carefully. They said, "I just want to know if they still feel it too." There is the hidden ache. Behind their talking, behind their remembering, behind their admiration, there is uncertainty. They wonder if the door is still open. They wonder if your heart has grown tired. They wonder if they waited too long. They wonder if the same energy still moves through you, or if you have finally begun pulling yourself away. And this thought has unsettled them, because for the first time, they are seeing that your presence is not guaranteed. Your love was never something to be taken lightly. Your spirit was never something to be treated as ordinary. And the possibility of losing access to your warmth has awakened something in them that comfort never could. They spoke today because something inside them misses what they never fully knew how to hold. They miss the feeling of being seen by you. They miss the way your energy made them feel understood without performance. They miss the part of themselves that came alive around you. And this is important. Sometimes a person thinks they miss another person, but what they truly miss is who they were becoming in that person's presence. Your soulmate misses both. They miss you, and they miss the better version of themselves that your presence quietly invited forward. The conversation did not end quickly. That is why heaven is drawing your attention to it. This was not a passing mention. They kept circling back. A story reminded them of you. A word reminded them of you. A silence reminded them of you. It was as if every ordinary thing became a doorway back to your name. They talked about your eyes, but not only how they look. They talked about what your eyes carry. They said there is something in your gaze that makes it hard to pretend. Something that feels like it sees beyond the surface. Something that can comfort and confront at the same time. They talked about your voice, not only the sound, but the way certain words from you stayed with them. They talked about your patience, but then admitted they may have tested it too much. They talked about your distance, and their voice changed. Because your distance has been speaking too. Even if you have not said everything aloud, your energy has shifted. You have been learning to stop chasing what must choose you freely. You have been learning to place your peace back into your own hands. You have been learning that love should not require you to abandon yourself. And they feel this. Even if they cannot explain it. They feel that something in you is no longer standing in the same place. That is why today's conversation carried urgency beneath the softness. They were not just praising you. They were realizing time is moving. They were realizing the story will not stay open forever without courage. They were realizing that if they keep hiding behind fear, they may one day have to watch someone else honor what they hesitated to protect. And that thought pierced them. They did not say it directly, but heaven heard it beneath every word. They are afraid someone else will see what they saw and do what they did not do. They are afraid someone else will speak clearly, show up consistently, and give you the emotional safety they struggle to offer. They are afraid your heart may become peaceful without needing their return. And when a person realizes you can survive without their presence, they begin to understand the value of the place they once held. But listen closely. This message is not telling you to wait in pain. It is not telling you to pause your life. It is not telling you to shrink yourself into hope. Heaven is showing you that what was hidden is now being stirred. What was unspoken is now pressing toward expression. What was confused is now becoming clearer. And you must remain rooted. Because when someone begins to awaken to your worth, your responsibility is not to run toward them in desperation. Your responsibility is to stay aligned with the version of you that heaven has been strengthening. The one who loves deeply but no longer begs. The one who feels everything but still chooses peace. The one who can receive love without losing self-respect. Your soulmate's words today were a sign, but signs must be met with wisdom. They said they wish they had handled certain moments differently. They said they sometimes replay conversations and hear what they should have said. They said there were times they acted distant when they actually cared. They said they feared being vulnerable because you mattered more than they expected. That is the truth beneath the story. You mattered more than they expected. You entered softly, but your impact became loud. You did not force your way into their heart, yet now they cannot fully remove you from it. And today, their mouth finally revealed what their soul has been carrying. There was one moment, near the end of the conversation, when they became unusually quiet. Someone mentioned moving forward, choosing happiness, not letting pride ruin meaningful things. And your soulmate listened, really listened. Their expression changed again. Because sometimes heaven sends wisdom through ordinary people. A friend, a relative, a stranger, a simple sentence at the right time. And today, someone said something your soulmate needed to hear. They said, "Some people do not come twice in the same way." That sentence landed. Your soulmate felt it. Because they know you are not the same person you were before. They know something in you has matured through the waiting, the wondering, the emotional wait. They know your heart may still care, but your spirit has grown stronger. And this is what makes the moment powerful. They are not only remembering who you were, they are sensing who you are becoming. And who you are becoming is harder to approach with half-truths. Who you are becoming requires honesty. Who you are becoming requires maturity. Who you are becoming cannot be held by someone who only speaks when it is convenient. So heaven is working on both sides. While they are being awakened, you are being refined. While they are being shown your value, you are being shown your own. While they are learning what they feel, you are learning what you deserve. This is not only about reunion. This is about alignment. Because what is the purpose of someone returning if they return with the same confusion? What is the meaning of a confession if it does not carry change? What is the value of beautiful words if they are not followed by steady actions? Heaven knows your heart. Heaven knows you are tired of almost honest, almost chosen, almost clear, almost ready. And that is why this moment matters. Your soulmate's words today were not the final answer. They were the first crack in the old pattern. Something is opening, but it has not fully opened yet. They still have a step to take. They still have a truth to speak directly. They still have a fear to face. They still have a decision to make that cannot remain hidden in conversations with others. Because talking about you is not the same as coming toward you. Admiring you is not the same as honoring you. Missing you is not the same as choosing you. And heaven is not satisfied with half-movement. Heaven is guiding this toward truth. Near the end, someone asked them a question that made their heart tremble. They asked, "If you feel this way, why haven't you told them?" And your soulmate froze. Not visibly to everyone. But inside, something stopped. Because that question touched the exact place they have been avoiding. Why have they not told you? Why have they allowed silence to speak louder than their heart? Why have they trusted distance more than honesty? Why have they let fear sit in the place where courage should be? They did not have an easy answer. They looked down. They breathed slowly. And then they said words that heaven carried straight into this message. They said, "Because I'm scared I already hurt them too much."